Okay, we will start. Shuklambardaram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Dorbiryukta Chaturbirspatikamanimayi Makshamalam Dadhana Haste Naikena Padmam Sitamapi Shukam Pustakam Chaparena Bhasa Kundendu Shankas Patikamanibha Bhasamana Samana Same Vagdevateyam Nivasatu Vadane Sarvada Suprasanna Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Valmikeer Munisimhasya Kavita Vanacharinaha Shinvan Rama Katanadam Konayati Param Gatim Goshpadi Kritavarashim Mashaki Kritarakshasam Ramayana Mahamala Ratnam Bande Nilatmajam Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakанjalim Bashpavari Paripurnalochanam Marutim Namatarakshasantakam Vaidehi Sahidam Suradrumatale Haime Mahamandape Madhye Pushpakamasane Manimaye Virasane Sustitam Agre Vachayati Prapanjana Sute Tattvam Munibhya Param Vyakhyantam Bharatati Viparivritam Ramam Bhaje Shyamalam Namostu Ramaya Salakshmanaya Devyai Chatasyai Janakatmajayai Namostu Rudrendra Yamanilebhyah Namostu Chandrarkamarudganebhyah Hri Om. Okay, so we finished Balakandam last class, and so we'll move to the next, which is Ayodhyakandam. This is the second Kandam of the 6. If you take the Uttarakandam, then it is 7. But a lot of people end with Yuddhakandam. So if you take the 6, this is the second. And if you take the 6, this is the second largest also. Because Yuddhakandam is 131 sargas. In some version it is 128 sargas. This is 119 sargas. So this is the second largest corpus of shlokas in Valmiki Ramayanam. Balakandam is all nice story. After all, the child is born and these nice stories of the marriage. There is very little except that's why there are a lot of other stories. You have 10 sargas on Ganga Avatarana, 15 sargas on Vishwamitra's greatness and so on. So after this nice story about the 4 brothers being born and all that, in Ramayanam, the real life lessons start now from this Ayodhyakandam. I'm not saying there is no life lessons. We did see some, but from Ayodhyakandam, it is a very, very different pitch of the story, where there are lots of the focus shifts to. Let it be open for some more time. Then we so the focus shifts to some issues in life, which is what we all anyway face. So that is what the Ayodhyakandam is all about. Before we actually get in, I think I must give a a fair sense of what do we expect in Ayodhyakandam. So to preamble that, first of all, the two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, of course then the Puranas also, but the epics, the two great epics are not merely stories to be read, not stories which are to be enjoyed in a TV serial, which we must. I am not saying not only that. I think we must do that. That is okay. But I think the two epics particularly are meant to teach us some of the important principles in life. But this is the Mula Uddesha. The Mula Uddesha of the two, that is why these two epics are very, very important in this country. It is the two pillars of Sanatana Dharma. Simply because these epics are primarily meant to teach some very critical principles in life. While there is a storyline which anyway goes, the story is only a vehicle for teaching these important principles in life. I think this is a most important uddesha of the epics as we see it. And also, the epics must serve as a reference book for us. See, we all live a life. And as we live our life, there are so many things that happen. There are so many things, good things, bad things, so many challenges. So the question is, where do we look for? You know, in Taittiriya Upanishad, if you remember, in the Siksha Valli, in the last Anusashika, you know, that this thing, he says because that is a convocation address. It was actually an address for the passing out students. So many principles are told there, life principles. So in that, this issue is also addressed. It says, Ye tatra brahmana sammarshinaha yukta ayukta aluksha dharma kamasyuhu yata te tatra varteran tata tatra varteta. The Guru says, if you have doubt how to conduct in a particular situation, you face so many situations, how do we know what is right and what is wrong? This is one question. So, in our Sanatana Dharma, there is an order. The order is, for the ultimate reference point is Shruti. Shruti, what says, is the ultimate. Now, if Smriti you can go to, as long as the Smriti is not in conflict with the Shruti. Smriti sometimes are in conflict in the process of explaining something and so on. So, Smriti. Suppose you say, I don't have knowledge, I don't have access. Some people don't have knowledge, some people don't have access. See, our ancestors were very practical. They will not tell you something which leads us to a dead end of what to do. So, suppose if somebody says, sir, I am not literate. I am literate, but I don't know Sanskrit, or I am not know what is this Shruti. Or somebody may say, I don't know what is Smriti. Then it says, Apta, the good people in the society. That's the next reference. These are all coming. That's why he says, Ye tatra brahmana sammarshinaha yukta ayuktaha aluksha dharma kamasu. Their only desire is dharma. Their vision is fixed on loka sangraha. See what they are doing. You do what they are. If they have taken a decision in a particular situation, etatra brahmana sammarshinaha yukta yuktaha aluksha dharma yata te tatra varteran. In that situation, find out how did they behave. Tata tatra vartetaha. You do like that. So this is the way dharma cannot be. If people have to really follow dharma, then the principles of dharma must be accessible to everyone. And if it has to be accessible to everyone, like Abrahamic religions, you cannot have one book. Because people who don't know that book, don't know how to read the book, finished. For them, where is the reference for dharma? So Dharma Shastra is not like that. Dharma Shastra is a very large corpus in which epics are also Dharma Shastra. Why I am saying all this is epics is also Dharma Shastra. Under Dharma Shastra, epics are also included. Why? Because yata te tatra vartetaha tata tatra varteran tata tatra vartetaha. So here we will look at the stories of how people actually respond to situations. That is what will happen. Let me just 1 minute. I think everybody, if they can close their video, it will be better. Okay, Sachin. Yeah. Okay. Now how to get rid of this. Okay, now I should tell, not this. Video settings. 1 minute. Let me just. No. Okay, let it be like this. Let me not. The participant is there. Where is there? No. Where is it? Video settings. Huh? Oh, let me just see. No, that is ticked. It's already ticked. Anyway, it's okay. I still do not know how to. Oh, here there may be something. Okay. So that is why itihasas are part of Dharma Shastra. In the Dharma Shastra classification, itihasa is on the top. Why? Because the itihasas are meant to teach us Dharma. They are the signs of Dharma. What is Dharma? How do we react to a situation? How do we handle certain situations in our life? As an individual, in a samaja, in a situation, how do we handle? Those are all the part of Dharma. So that's why itihasas are also part of Dharma Shastras. So that is why these epics are full of episodes, full of ideas, which discuss how the characters there respond to situations, how they have handled a certain life situation, because there lies the learnings for us. No, see, I was just explaining the word itihasa in Sanskrit. Okay, the iti asan. That's how the itihasa comes. It was like this. So itihasa are actually. Can you switch off your video, please? Because it will all. Karthik, you can switch off your video. So itihasas are. Karthik, you should switch off your video because the screen will be full of videos. Can you please switch off? So it was like this. That is a meaning, Sanskrit meaning of the word itihasa. Iti asat asit. That's a samasa itihas it becomes. So itihasas are historical. They are not imaginary stories. Definitely not imaginary stories. They are historical, which means there is a definite dating, there is a timing and all that. That's why it's all narrations in a past tense. Whereas Puranas are so Puranic. They are so old. So establishing a time may be difficult. So that is the difference between Purana and Itihasa. In Purana, they are very, very, very old. So establishing time and all is not possible, and that is not the intention there. In Itihasa, they are historical. They are actual rendering of what happened during a particular time.
That is where it comes.
That is the second interpretation. Pura api navacha means it is relevant even today. But primarily Puranas are very old. That is one. Second difference between Itihasa and Purana is there are certain lakshanas in a Purana. There is a Pancha Lakshana, then there is a Dasha Lakshana also. See, every Purana must talk about origin of the universe. Every Purana must talk about dissolution of the universe. Every Purana must talk about the procreation, the Vamshavali. Like this, there are Lakshanas are there. Itihasas are not like that. Itihasas are actual rendering. So the Lakshanas don't apply to Itihasa. That's why the creation will not be described as a main story. There may be Upakyanas. In Ramayana and Mahabharata, some creation story may also come. But that's a side, small little story. Itihasas don't have Lakshanas of that variety. Whereas Puranas are meant to establish the origin of the universe, to describe the origin of the universe, to describe the dissolution of the universe, to describe how Dharma is established, how the lineage of kings came. Every Purana will have all that. That's the difference between Purana and Itihasa. These are clearly historical. It happened thus. That is the meaning of Itihas. It's an actual narration. That's why this is put under Dharma Shastra. Puranas are put in a different thing. These are under Dharma Shastra because Dharma is practiced. Dharma is not something written and put on a book for somebody else to practice. Dharma is that which is practiced. And when people show it, demonstrate it, then that is a value in it. There is a value in it because it becomes a reference book for us. So the epics are meant to tell us what is Dharma. The epics are meant to tell us what are different life challenges that one will encounter and how perhaps it can be handled. The epics can be like a reference book. If I go through a problem, is there a reference available here for me to see? These are the Sukshma Vishayas of a Itihasa. And the story is only a vehicle to tell all this. So primarily this is the Uddesha. So from Ayodhyakanda onwards, you get plenty of that. The Balakanda is a nice story of the children born and all that. From the Ayodhyakanda, that message, that requirement, that important aspect of the Itihasa we are able to see from Ayodhyakanda. Now, what is the most important message in at the end of the 119 sargas? What is the message? What is that one central message? There are so many, but what is that central message that we should look for? Because every sarga and every kanda has its own messages, every sarga has messages, every shloka has messages. But if you ask, what is the central idea behind this Ayodhyakanda? What is that one message? Right? That message, at least it appears to me, is titiksha, is a very, very important thing required in everybody's life. In Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2 itself, Krishna has defined titiksha. Before he started all teachings, he started matra sparshast kaunteya sitosha sukha dukkataha agamapayino anityaha tam titikshasva bharata. Develop that equanimity, sense of equanimity, mental equipoise. That's the nearest English word we can use. Mental equipoise. So Ayodhyakanda says a life, in everybody's life, there is a very important requirement for us to develop titiksha. That's why in sadhana sampat also titiksha is there. If you see, it says shat sampat. In that titiksha is one of them. Because without titiksha, life will go out of balance. In fact, Shankaracharya in his Viveka Chudamani says, Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilapa rahitam saha titiksha. That's what he says. He says in life, so many things will come. So many sahanam sarva dukkana. So many things, not necessarily happy things can happen in life. Now, how do we develop that sahana, that ability to forbear and endure that? Sarva dukkana apratikara purvakam, without somebody's support. Not with somebody's support. As an individual, have you developed that ability that when you face an adversity in life, are you able to handle it? That is a question. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam. Otherwise, moment some bad things happen, chinta vilapanam starts. Our mind, says, I have been so good, all these happened to me, I was so kind to everyone, God has been so unkind to me, I have not done anything to anybody, why did it happen to me? It will eat our head. That's what they say, eat your head. So it will simply eat our head. So he says, our ability to do without that also. Our mind should not get eaten away by this thought when some bad things happen. And are you able to handle yourself? So that is the definition he gives, titiksha. So I think the central message in Bhagavad Gita is, in Ayodhyakanda, is that titiksha is an important skill requirement in everybody's life, right? Otherwise, we will lose the balance and fall by the wayside. There are any number of examples. Otherwise, good people cannot take the slightest adversary in their life. In fact, some of the modern kids suffer from this problem because this issue is not told to them very well. Somehow this issue is all not there. This is exactly like, I frequently give this example, this is exactly like this model house that you have when you have an apartment complex. Model house is never reality. It's all fantasy. So by looking at the model house, if you think that is going to be our house, it is not going to be like that. So our somehow, in the way we do things, maybe the educational systems and the society, we are injecting a lot of fantasy into our children, not the realism of life. There's so much of fantasy. Only good things will happen. No, nothing else will happen. Only good things will happen. These kinds of ideas are all pumped in. So today's kids are not able to take the slightest sort of disappointments. I'm not even talking about misery. I'm talking about disappointments. Slightest disappointments they are not able to take, and then some kids are so sensitive they even go to the extent of all that happens. That means there is not even a lesha of titiksha. There is not even a trace of titiksha. Nobody can lead a life without titiksha. That is the message in Ayodhyakanda at the end of the day. That message comes through this great character called Rama. This whole Ayodhyakanda shows this great character called Rama, which wants to teach to the mankind, you have to develop titiksha in life, where anything can happen in life. That is a very important message, because what is this life and what are these life challenges? It is a very normal thing for almost all of us. We start aspiring for things. A student who is a student studying aspires to get the first rank. It can start in small little things like that. A student aspires for something, right? A person who graduates out of an educational system aspires for a job. And a person who is working aspires for a certain career progression. The trajectory must be faster, I should rise fast. A person who is reached a certain level aspires, their life is full of aspiration for every one of us. Somehow it is built into it. Somehow this whole thing is built, this aspiration is part of a human endeavor. It looks like that. Let it be so. We are not saying let us not have aspirations. We are not at all saying that. All that I am saying is at every stage of our life, looks like every one of us have our own aspirations. That is the rajas part of it. Let it happen. That generates activity in life. All that happens. Now, the second step of that is because we have aspirations in life. We want to put the best foot forward. That student, in his or her own ways, he or she thinks he has studied well. Finally, we don't know, the judgment day is on some other day. Every one of us, for whatever is the aspiration that we have, we endeavor. We put the best foot forward, try everything, and put all our energy behind it. All that we do in order to reach our aspiration. There is nothing wrong in that also. There is nothing wrong in that. Somehow when some of the Vedantic discussions are done, it somehow gives an impression as though these things are no, these are not at all wrong. Let's have aspirations. Let us put the best foot forward, throw all our weight behind it, and then aspire for what needs to be done. Okay? Now the question is, the outcomes happen. So certainly outcomes happen. Every moment of our life is an outcome for some of the things that we did, some of the steps that we have taken. There are outcomes all the time in life. Some of them are bigger outcomes, some of them are smaller outcomes, because the aspirations are also smaller and bigger. It doesn't really matter. All that I'm saying is there are aspirations, efforts leading to outcomes. Now the outcomes can be three. Outcomes are in line with what we aspired for. So this human intellect is so good, it raises the bar and goes to the next aspiration. So don't think it is good news. It is not at all necessarily a good news from that perspective. Immediately the bar is raised. So we are on the same boat. This is like city of Bombay, all the time dug. Although they put more and more flyovers and so on, and this metro, that metro, some crisscrossing of new, every time I go to Bombay, new flyover, but all the time the city is dug up and traffic jams are there. I don't know when it will end. So like that, if you meet the aspirations, never ever think that's the end of the story. It immediately raises the bar and you are into the same chakra. So therefore what I am saying is the first result is of no great use for me. It can give a momentary joy for some time, then it puts you back into pressure. This is what it looks like, the psychology. Okay. The second outcome can be that what we got is not what we really thought we will get. We aspired so much and we did not get that much. That could be the second. Which means something happened, but it did not happen in full measure. That is the second. So that will introduce a certain amount of disappointment. I put so much of effort and God has been unkind and all that. But then there is a third also. I put the best foot forward and did everything. It no way gave me any result also. That is the biggest disappointment. Now in Ayodhyakandam, there is a fourth also. You are given something and withdrawn immediately. That is even more difficult. See, imagine that is even more difficult. Somebody calls and tells you are the CEO of the company, only to be called day after tomorrow and say you resign and go. Or that 12 hours is you are on cloud 9 and from there it is a free fall. You don't know where are you falling. You don't even know what is the height from which you are falling. That is even more difficult. That is being discussed in Ayodhyakandam. So I am saying to handle this is what is called titiksha. So titiksha is that ability to handle these kind of events which our life will be full of dotted with such events. The magnitude can vary, the context may vary, situations may vary, but that is why in Bhagavad Gita again Krishna so nicely said karmanyeva adhikara mahapaleshu kadachana. So to develop that mindset, that you put the best foot forward. Last 2 years I have learnt it very well by starting a new university. There is no commensurate, the effort that we have put and the results we got, we should have thumped the desk and said the results are not commensurate to the effort. We should have told it. Because I think my team, all of us worked 18, 20 hours. This year admission we are working, I don't know how many hours, night, 2, 3 and all, day before yesterday I was there till 10:30 we had a meeting. After that another 2.5 hours they were working on what I said. That's the team with which we are working. Now results will come, we have left it to God. We do not know. You do not know. You have no business to thumb the desk and say, I have put 5,000 hours of work. Good result has to happen. Today's mindset is like that. They think it is unfair. I have to tell them, you are unwise. You have not understood life. It's not fairness issue. It is a wisdom issue. Because Krishna has said, Karmani eva adhikaraha ma paleshu kadachana.
Daivam jaivatra panchamam.
Daivam cha atra panchamam. That is what it is. Therefore, how we have to, that is why Titiksha is an essential element of life. This is a life skill. This is a life vest in an ocean. In the Samsara Sagara, this is a life vest. One of the life vest is Titiksha. So how do we develop that Titiksha? We can go through Ayodhyakanda for that. And read Ayodhyakanda to understand what happened to this great Vyakti called Sri Rama. How Rama handled, what happened, how he handled this whole episode, and such a beautiful retelling of that story. So that is why I quite often say youngsters must read Ayodhyakanda. This must be read at the age of 25, if not at the age of 15. Between the age of 25 and 30, they should read Ayodhyakanda and understand the sukshma of life. That is what is being told that it is not all that nice fancy and fantasy. I mean, we should have that imagination. We should do that. We should aspire. We should say, I want to be good in life. For that, what is the right thing to do? Put all my effort. But then also develop a certain wisdom. If people can develop that wisdom at a fairly young age, it's Daiva Anugraha Hetukam. That would happen only because of that Daiva Anugraha. They are indeed blessed. If people have developed Titiksha fairly early in their life, it is an expression of divine blessing on them. That is why we have to read Ayodhyakandam. Because of that, it really tells that how we can really understand that aspect of life, which every one of us will go through. Nobody will be exempted from that. A king will not be exempted, a beggar will not be exempted, an old man will not be exempted, a young man will not be exempted, a lady will not be exempted, a child will not be exempted. I think this is a fact of life. That life is a roller coaster ride. To recognize that life is a roller coaster ride, because there is another easy option, then people will say, if that is what is the rules of the game, then I am taking my hands off. I don't want to do anything. That's why Krishna has said that also not possible. He said, karmanyeva adhikaraha ma paleshu kadachana, ma karma pala heturbuhu. Then finally he said, ma te sangastu akarmani. You have no license to remain without work in a sangha, in a society. If I put these rules, you may come and say, no, in that case I am not playing the game. Krishna says you have no choice also. Then the only way to understand it is we have to develop that wisdom of life. I think that is according to that is the only message, central message in Ayodhyakanda. We will see it in whatever detail possible as we go through all the sargas. I thought I will just give this brief introduction to Ayodhyakanda, where the ups and downs of what Sri Rama went through, how he portrayed it, what kind of things he exhibited. All those are very nicely coming. We will pick such shlokas as we go along and see what life lessons are there for the youngsters, for every one of us, so that in whatever we do in our life, we should be reminded of such things that happened in Ayodhyakanda. So that is the broad message. So with that, we will step into Ayodhyakandam. First of all, I will quickly tell you what are those 119 sargas. How are they broadly set? So the first 6 sargas talk about the desire of Dasharatha to coronate Rama, to install Rama as the next king. But there are some very interesting lessons there, which today's Grahastha-ashramis must know. There are lessons for Grahastha-ashrams in that. Because it is not told openly. This is what I am saying. In that first 6 sargas, there are a few references I will show, which is clearly saying one of the problems with the Grihastha ashram is they don't know how to go to Vanaprastha ashrama. Dasharatha is actually showing that. This is a problem with elderly people in the families. There's a vice-like grip in family life. They are not loosening. They have to loosen.
Businesses.
Huh?
Businesses especially.
That is the other part of the story. I am talking. That's why the word ashrama is a very interesting word. No? Ashrama means a resting place. Ashrama, the meaning of ashrama is a place for temporarily resting. So you cannot be in any ashrama for long. That is the meaning there. That's why they chose the word ashrama. So you can't be in brahmacharya. Of course, if you are in brahmacharya for long, you can scrape through. I mean, you can jump through the other two and go to sannyasa directly. But you have to move. See, in our Sanatana Dharma, this Varnashrama is a very interesting idea, which I don't know how people have understood it. If you take an individual, take each individual. Each individual has 2 axes. If you take a matrix, a table, rows and columns. If I take it like that. Every individual can be positioned on the row and on the column. If you know how to do it, you get to know what is called Varnashrama. This is called the Varnashrama Dharma. First, you take an individual and ask what is this individual's inherent strength and capabilities are, which is what Singapore government is doing. Singapore government at the 7th standard or 6th standard or 7th standard, they conduct an exam. Okay. And at the end of the exam, they segregate. They say these people will be drivers. They start educating them. They segregate them at that level. I disagree with segregating them at the age of 12. That's a disagreement. But they are actually coming to a point. Point is, we will succeed only in what we are good in. First, we have to understand it. See, in this country, for some weird reason, everybody thinks, that I have to be like this. The modern Brahmanas are MBA managers. Everybody want to be like that. Everybody want to be like that is not a very great idea. I mean, that's all nice to talk. There is a Prakriti Visesha. Each one of us is, in fact, Sanatana Dharma says, let 1,000 flowers blossom. Different people have different strengths. I mean, how can this if all the 5 fingers are of the same shape and height, finished? You don't need this hand. The dexterity and the skill that you get is only because each one of them is different. Each one of them is different. God has given every idea in every creation that He has made. So this idea that all of us have to aspire only to be like that, and there are good way to start. But the counseling is not doing any. In fact, Indian counseling must actually start with Prakriti. If there is an Indian approach to counseling. So Indian counseling must actually start with Prakriti. Everyone's guna adishaya, their guna composition, their Prakriti and Swabhava must be mapped. So that is one dimension called Shudra, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Brahmana. This is purely saying some people, it has not actually a birth certificate matter. Today we have made it a birth certificate matter. It is not that. It says each one of us, somebody likes to be always with people. Somebody likes arts and somebody likes to only keep thinking and writing and doing good for others and doing like that. Somebody wants to be very muscled. They are good only in that. If you take that person and put them elsewhere, it's all utter, failure. So you cannot take a highly Rajasic person and put him in a spiritual place. He will spoil the whole spiritual place. It is not possible for him. His nature is something. So in the Varnashrama, the Varna first of all takes an individual and tells the individual, given your sort of your skills, competencies, your basic likings and dislikings and with your Swabhava and Guna, this is what it will be good to you. Now today we want to violate it and get into trouble, that's okay. I am only saying it was not a thoughtless idea. So that is one dimension. Now there is a second dimension. So I have talked about one dimension called Varna, which says each individual's strengths and capabilities and competencies, interests, and whatever, bag that you carry. Accordingly, I will try to give a fitting role in the society. Now, the second question is is very important, equally important and interesting. That is, let me be placed anywhere in this varna. That's okay. Because that was earlier thinking. Let me be placed anywhere in this varna. Each individual has to pass through time. Whether you are a Kshatriya, Brahmana, Shudra, or a Vaishya, whatever, you have to pass through your time of 0 to 100 years. Now, how do you make that movement? So it's a time dimension. That is called ashrama dharma. That is why brahmacharya. So the brahmacharya for a Vaishya will emphasize a certain knowledge, certain accumulation of certain knowledge. The brahmacharya for a Kshatriya will be a certain type of knowledge. The brahmacharya for a Shudra will be a certain type of knowledge. And the brahmacharya for a Brahmana will be a certain type of knowledge. Then grahastha ashrama. You evolve and then you be part of the society, useful link of the society, procreate and then follow dharma. That's why wife is called sahadharmacharini. The very idea of marriage is that to profess dharma, 1 plus 1 is good. 4 hands is better than 2 hands to profess dharma. So move in. Stability of the society is only through grahastha ashrama. No other ashrama can provide stability to the society. Because sannyasi cannot cook, a brahmachari cannot cook, a vanaprastha also cannot cook. So food you have to supply, it comes from the household. Grahastha ashrama is very, very important. Then individual has to progress. Every individual has to liberate and find their own true nature. It doesn't matter whether you are a Shudra or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya, all those are unimportant. Every individual has to liberate. So from grahastha ashrama you have to go to vanaprastha ashrama. And from vanaprastha ashrama, you go to sannyasa ashrama. So this axis is how an individual spends his time in his spiritual dimension. So ashrama dharma is a spiritual paramarthika, whereas varna is a vyavaharika. They are mixing these two. You should not mix these two. This is vyavaharika. For the purpose of work, you have to give me some job. I can be a manager, I can be a class 4 employee, but I can be a great sant. I can be a class 4 employee, but can be a great realized soul. Because that is the other axis. So the varnashrama is a paramarthika, vyavaharika classification. So in that, people are not moving from grahastha ashrama to... So the first 6 sargas, Dasharatha is saying, I want to move on. I cannot be stagnant like this. That is why he wants to give the kingdom to his son and then move away. I want to liberate and find for myself. That desire was there. Anyway, the first 6 sargas, I think we got very detailed into that. The first 6 sargas are Dasharatha's desire to step out and put Rama in the place. Then, of course, Mandira and Kaikeyi, all that. So that conversations happen. She comes to Dasharatha. So the next 8 sargas, sargas 7 to 14. Mandira talking to Kaikeyi, Kaikeyi talking to Dasharatha. All those are there. Those are the 8 sargas. Then 15 to 25. In fact, in the 15th sarga only they send Sumantra. And then 17th sarga and 18th sarga are very loaded with shlokas. How Kaikeyi speaks, how Rama responds are beautiful to see. We'll see some of them. We can't see all the shlokas, but we will see some important shlokas. So between 15 to 25, then he goes and meets Kausalya. All those happen. So those are, Rama decides to go as per Kaikeyi's wish. So those are in sargas 15 to 25. And then Sita also joins, Lakshmana also joins. Then their departure, all those are in the next 15 sargas. 26 to 40, you will find those descriptions of what is happening, how they are preparing, how Kaikeyi gives that wooden bark to Sita and all that. All those are there. Every aspect of life is all very nicely brought in there. So they go and then they meet Guha and then Bharadwaj Ashram, then all that, Chitrakuta. So those are explained in the next 15 sargas, 41 to 56. 57 to 66, Dasharatha's death and Bharata's arrival from his Matula Griha. And his fiery speech against his mother, all those are there. Those are in those sargas. And so since the king is no more and Rama is away, there is a frantic effort to put Bharata as the next king, and all those happens. He refuses. So those are all those 15 sargas, 67 to 81. And then he says, Chalo, let's go and fetch Rama back. He blasts everybody, including Vasishtha, everybody. And then he says, let's take the army and all the elders, Jabali, everybody comes. Let's take all of them and then convince Rama and bring him back. Those are there. And 82 to 96, Bharata, they go to, Bharadwaja Ashrama, then get to know and all that. They come here, then Lakshmana gets angry, all those are there. So 82 to 96, finally they have come. The first thing he informs his father's departure. Then Rama does his last ride. They're all very touchy scenes. Some of those descriptions are there. Then the two brothers have a wonderful conversation, great conversation, Bharata and Rama. Bharata makes so much effort to bring back Rama, and Rama, it doesn't snub him, but he explains to him why it is important that he goes back. So that's where, in fact, up to the 57th sarga or 56th sarga, every now and then, in between, you will find Rama will be pouring his emotion. He is only showing that the disappointment that we face in our life will not go that easily. So he was very, very humanly exhibiting the things. So he was really showing that how the emotions were pouring. Every now and then the emotions were pouring. Till 57 sarga. In between, he feels sad. Sometimes he feels this Bharata is a very lucky person. He has portrayed all kinds of expressions as human beings we go through when disappointments stark at our face. When we are told something and we were told no, beautifully comes. But the same Rama in 97th sarga and 114th sarga is commanding confidence. The titiksha is in full measure. The roller coaster ride, he says, this is what life is. You should not worry about it. He gets philosophical. In one of the sarga, he tells his brother, there is a big water flow which is happening. And then in the water flow, there is one wood coming like this. We have seen it in many of these, particularly in the Prayaga and all that you see. That example he gives. There is one log of wood coming like this. Another log of wood coming like this. Both of them go touching each other for a while. After that, they separate. Life is like that. Why are you unnecessarily getting emotional? Go and rule the kingdom. So he goes to that level. The same Rama who showed emotions of life, of disappointments, in fact, Sita asked, why is your face like this? When he returned in the 25th sarga, around that 19th or 20th sarga somewhere, when he returned, Sita asked, your face is pink. What happened? So you cannot conceal your feelings and emotions. But the same character Rama so beautifully came around when finally the brother came. That is the grand finale to the Ayodhyakandam. The 97th to 114 sarga. Then Vasishtha tries, Jabali tries. He snubs Jabali. Vasishtha very respectfully says, Guru is very important, Father is more important than Guru, I am dismissing you. Like that. Every argument he gets back and tells Bharata, no, Father has said something, we have to, hold it. Because history forever will talk about it if you don't hold it. If you hold it, history talks about it in a different way. If you don't hold it, history talks about it in a different way. So he convinces him and then all that, Nandigrama, all that happens. So that or those, then since the Ayodhya, large contingent of Ayodhya people know where they are, they decided to leave that place. That is the decision. They say we should not be here anymore because this thing will happen. They will keep coming and going and so on. That's why they cross over and, go. And the Ayodhyakanda, that's, they leave the Chitrakuta and then get into the, So that is how the Ayodhyakanda is. So it will really take us through these competing emotions of life. It will start with this very important message that elderly people are refusing to go from Grihastha-ashrama to Vanaprastha-ashrama, which Dasharatha so beautifully shows in the first 5-6 sargas. That's a sukshma there. Very nicely points that every one of us have to keep seriously thinking about that aspect of life. Ashrama is actually a journey, not to be parked somewhere forever. All those are there. We will see only the first sarga today. The reason is there are a few places in Ramayana where Valmiki has vividly described Rama's qualities. There are only a few places, not so in Sudarakanda when Hanuman was like that. There are only a few places. Of course, the first 5 sargas of Balakanda, where that last class also I showed that Dharmajnaha, Kridajnaha, Jata Roshasya Bibhyati, Jitakrodha, all is, Atmavan, all those 17 qualities. After that, the first sarga of Ayodhyakanda is such a beautiful description of Rama. For what? To say he is eminently qualified to be the king. That's where the description is coming. So there is a nice description. We cannot afford to skip those shlokas. So I skipped only 1 or 2 shlokas that I have taken about. There are about 19 shlokas just describing his thing. I skipped about 6, 7, but I have taken remaining 12, 13 shlokas, which we should see today. Because that is a charm of reading Ramayana. That's why Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma, Sadhu Dharma Parakramaha. That will be known only when we see the Guna Adishaya of Rama as described by Valmiki. That happens only in a few places. So that's what we will see in the first sarga. We will see only 1 sarga today with this introduction. So the first sarga is Dasharatha's desire to make Rama the king. That thought has started happening in his mind. That is what the first sarga is. If you remember, the last sarga in Balakandam is a nice description that how the 4 brothers after marriage are happily living, particularly Rama and Sita, how stabilized in their life is, which is going to be disturbed now. So that description is there. So that description follows in the first 8 shlokas in this sarga. Little bit. Saying that Bharata and Shatrughna very happily are spending time in their Matula Griha. Some 1 or 2 3 shlokas are there. They are very, but they are all the time thinking of their parents and Rama. Like such shlokas, Rama is very good. Sita and Rama are happy. Like that, some 8 shlokas are there. Then comes these 22 shlokas where the special qualities of Rama is described in detail. In these 22 shlokas, we will see many from that today. Then shloka 31 to 34, also Valmiki says how the other people have recognized that. The Devas, the people of Ayodhya, king and the ministers, everybody have recognized he is an extraordinary character. See, when somebody is very good, people recognize, no? People get to know. Oh, he is a very good person. He is a very bright young boy. He is very active, very dharmic person. We keep saying that. So that 3-4 shlokas essentially says that all these are the preamble to say that we have a very eligible prime minister or the king, sort of a thing. I think for that only all these are being, put there. Anyway, the others have also recognized Rama is such a great Vyakti. So that they are there in those 4 shlokas. And the next 10 shlokas, Dasharatha feels that time has come for him to step out. This is very, very important departure from Grihastha-ashrama to Vanaprastha-ashrama. Grihastha-ashrama to Vanaprastha-ashrama is not looking for a forest trail or something. It is actually a mental process of saying, I have to take my hand out from the thickness of every vyavahara that I am doing in life. We can be still at home. This vice-like grip that we have on everything that is happening in the life, do you know how to loosen it? That is the Vanaprastha-ashrama. That is the real gate to, that's the first handle to open Vanaprastha. He shows signs of that. In this and the next 2-3 days, he says, enough. Time has come that I have to step back. God, that is only when individual will evolve. That's why I said that is the other dimension. The ashrama dharma is for evolution of an individual before that individual perishes. So we have to ask, what have I evolved in the last 10 years? If you say I have become more powerful, I am getting more and more involved in what is happening. I am becoming more and more obstinate. I am becoming more and more upset for even smallest thing. That we have not evolved, we have devolved. Evolution is Padmapatra Ivambasi. That water and the lotus leaf. How do we get that? That is why this Vanaprastha is prescribed. So anyway, he says there is a need for installing Rama as the king. Then he calls the other prominent kings. Valmiki specifically says he did not call Janaka and his Matula. Kaikeyi is, because let there be a surprise element for them. It was a bad surprise. But Valmiki, there is one shloka which he says he did not call these two kings because he thought they should have a pleasant surprise. That's how there is one reference, one shloka is there. So other kings were called, because people may ask, why did they not call these two people? He thought, let them have a pleasant surprise that Janaka also know that Rama is becoming like that. There is a shloka. Anyway, so this is Sarga 1. So what we will do is we look at some of the Guna Adishayas of Rama, where some of the shlokas, which I will take a few of them. Satu nityam prashantatma mridupurvam cha bhashate uchyamanopi parusham notaram pratipadyate. So the first shloka says, Saha tu nityam prashantatma. He was forever prashantah. He was very serene mind. Prashantatma. He is not a very disturbed mind. He is a very serene mind. Nityam. Satu nityam prashantatma. Mridu purvam cha bhashate. When he speaks, it is so tender. It's not harsh. Mridu is soft. Na? So mridu purvam, which means the words that comes out of his mouth has already been loaded with softness. That's why the word mridu purvam. It's already coated with softness. It is breaking out of the mouth. I mean, literally, you have to say like that. Mridu purvam cha bhashate is mild manner spoken, right? Then look at the second line. Uchyamanaha api parusham. If somebody talks parusha is harsh, talking very harsh, in a very disrespectful way, talking inappropriately, shouting. All those are parusha, we can say. So, uchyamanopi parusham na uttaram pratipadyate. See, this is a very common weakness many of us have. We are generally good people. If somebody shouts at us, it is time for us to shout back. And many times we feel a little later, why did we do? We could have not done it. If that fellow is mad, why did I become mad? It is his madness. But why did I become mad? But it takes a while to acquire this kind of guna. It's a very long drawn, conscious effort of thinking about it, then it comes. That's why it may look very simple to say that. Uchyamanopi parusham notaram pratipadyate. He doesn't have the habit. If you shout, I don't have to shout back. I have my own ways. There are people like that who knows how very nicely. So he's of a character of that kind. That is what the first shloka says. Katanchetupakarena kritenaikena tushyati nasmaratyapakaranam shatamapyatmavattaya. So this is again a very nice thing which is very hard to imbibe. That is why Rama is a very inspiring personality in this country. Every one of these can be emulated. There is a meaning to some of the things talked about Rama. Look at the second shloka. Katanchit upakarena. Somebody does small help. Katanchit. So happened, in a very accidental way. It is not even intentional. In a small way, you helped me. Katanchit upakarena kritena ekena. One upakara, however small you have done, tushyati, he feels happy. People who feel happy like that will also have a high sense of kritagnyata. These are all related attributes actually. Even a small help, if I feel very happy, I will also have the sense of gratitude. These are all, adjacency properties actually. So he says, Kritena ekena katanchit upakarena tushyati. He feels very happy. But look at the second line. Nasmarati. Nasmarati apakaranam shatamapi. Hundreds of bad things you do to me. This is a very high character. You can read in a textbook. You can see 1 in 1,000 people are like this. 1 in 10,000 people are like this. There are people like this. But 1 in 10,000. What is he saying? He is saying, Nasmarati apakaranam shatamapi. Even you do 100 bad things to me, I don't remember it. See, this forgetting bad things is a very high state of spiritual evolution. We find it very difficult. At a very average level, we find it difficult. I mean, even if we don't react, the memory is there. See, reacting is next. It is even adama. I am talking about madhyama. Madhyama is asmakam smarane bhavishyati. Nischena smarane bhavishyati. It will be in our memory. He says nasmarati. That is uttama. So from adama you have to go to that uttama. That's what it says. Nasmarati api. All those are in sandhi. Nasmaratyapakaranam. Na smarati api apakaranam, not upakaranam. Apakaranam, upa is near, apa is dura. Apakara is which throws you away, I mean, which is against you. The activity that you do, which distances me from you, which is you do wrong things to me or bad things to me. That's the way you have to understand apakara. That's the opposite of upakara. So, na smarati apakaranam shatamapi. Atma, why? Because of Atmavatta. Atmavatta Tritiya Vibhakti is Atmavattaya. Atmavattaya. Atmavatta is because of the sense control. Atmavatta is, sense control. Because you have that samadhana. You are able to shama, dhamma, samadhana, all those if you have, it is possible. That such things you can have that level of spiritual evolution. You'll be able to pardon people for things. Mahatma Gandhi said, if you hit on one cheek, show the other cheek, it is actually not showing the other cheek. It is actually communicating this idea that if somebody does bad to you, you don't have to throw filth at them. If you do it, your spiritual character has not evolved. If you are able to let them. It's not weakness. People think it is not weakness. It is, you need phenomenal inner strength to do it. Out of weakness only, out of fear and weakness only, you shout back, you hit. All that is all weakness. If you have this Vyakti inside is solid rock, it will allow it to just let it happen. My character, this doesn't befit my character. This is all very high character thinking, which are all attributed to Rama. Shila vriddai, jnana vriddai, vayo vriddai sajjanaihi, katayannāstavai nityam, astra yogyantareshvapi. Nityam astra yogyantareshu api. When he is learning all these archery and his martial arts, whatever, whenever he gets some gap, yogyantare, tasmin sandarbhe, when there is some time, when he has gaps and so on, api katayan asta, he was talking, he was conversing, talking, with whom? There are 4 of them written there. It says Shila Vriddaha, right? Jnana Vriddaha, Vayo Vriddaha, Sajjana. If you take Sajjana as adjective for them, I don't want to take. I will put 4. There are 4 categories here. Now, this is very interesting. Look at here. There are, first of all, 3 categories of elderly people mentioned. The only elderly people we know are Vayo Vriddhas. Whenever we say elderly, we use only age as the reference. So that is there. Vayo Vriddhaischa. It is there. But in our Sampradaya, there is a Jnana Vriddha and a Shila Vriddha. That is why somebody who is a Jnana Vriddha, age will not come in the way of, dealing with them. So there are two important messages here. One is, all the three are written Prithak Prithak. So the way I have understood is, there is no guarantee that a Shila Vriddha will be a Vayo Vriddha and a Jnana Vriddha. There is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that Jnana Vriddha will be a Shila Vriddha and a Vayo Vriddha. All those are possible. But there is also possible that somebody may be all these also. All those is possible. But all that it is saying is, people who are Shila Vriddha means they lead such a clean life. They are absolutely dharmic, virtuous, lead a very neat, clean, simple, very humble, proper. There is the Shilas. That's a Shaili. That's why I use the word Shaili. It's Jivana Shaili. We say Jivana Shaili, no? So that is the way. Such people are to be respected like elders. Then Jnana Vriddhaha. They are Vriddha because of the Jnana. They have acquired so much knowledge. They have that respect. They have to be respected. There is Jnana Vriddha and Vayo Vriddha. Because all the three will give lessons of life. To think only one will give the lessons of life is actually giving up 2/3 of possibility. That's why he says he interacts with all of them. Because to lead a great life, to be a character like Rama, it is an all-round effort of everything. That's why he says Sajjanaha, Shila Vriddhaha, Jnana Vriddhaha, Vayo Vriddhaha. He was all the time interacting with them, right? And get to know, I've been hearing some lectures of Nochu Rankatan. He very frequently quotes this. He says in Vasishta Saram, Vasishta tells Rama, if you go to a new village, look at where is the great spiritually evolved person being. If he is there in a slum, take a Bhiksha Patra and go there. Vasishta says, take a Bhiksha Patra and go there. And Vasishta also says, if in a village there is nobody like that, get out of the village first. Because that is the culture. That our learning for that perfection will come from all these people. So, he gives quoting that from somewhere from the Vasishta. I remembered that. So that's what he says. Katayan nasta cha nityam astra yogyantareshu api. Buddhiman madura bhashi purva bhashi priyam vadaha viryavan nacha viryena mahata swena vismitaha. Buddhiman is endowed with buddhi, sharp intellect, and the intellect is full of good knowledge. If this is the way he deals with people, if he has this kind of Vinaya Bhava and all that, he will be a Buddhiman. So Buddhiman, Madhura Bhashi, right? Sweetly spoken. It says, Mridu Purva Bhashakam. That's what it says. It says Madhura Bhashi here. He talks, there he says he talks softly. Here he says he talks sweet things. Madhura Bhashi is what it says here. Purva Bhashi. He doesn't wait for somebody. He speaks ahead of them. See, these are all some nice, attributes. See, sometimes what happens is two people come and then they grimly watch at each other for about 2 hours. Because nobody knows who to start. But both of them want to, after all, we are all social beings. We just, we were traveling in a train. I mean, unless the other person is in meditation, that's a different story. I'm not talking about such things. The question is, who is the Purvabhashi? Meaning, what I'm saying is, it's a nice thing to, be very forthcoming, because it only recognizes that others are good, so therefore I can, kind of a thing. So it says, Purvabhashi Priyam Vadaha. Priyam, last time I said Priyam Hitam. I checked that shloka. There is one shloka in Viduraniti. Viduraniti shloka says, it says, Avyahridam Vyahrida Shreyaha Ahuhu. Best thing is not to talk. Vyahridat Avyahritam Shreyaha Ahuhu. That is the first thing Vidura says. Best thing is, but not to talk. Not the Purvabhashi. I am not talking about this. What it is saying, I will explain the whole thing, then it will become a little clear. Then he says, Satyam vadet vyahridam tad dvitiyam. You say, no, that is not possible. I have to talk. Then Satyam vadet vyahridam chet. If it demands that we have to talk, then the second rule is Satyam. This is what Vidura says to Dhritarashtra and Viduraniti. Then he says, Priyam vadet vyahridam tat tritiyam. He says, the third rule when you speak, first rule in speak is don't talk. That's the best thing. But you say, no, I have to talk. You cannot conduct a meeting and say, avyahritat, vyahritat, avyahritam shreya. You cannot keep quiet and have a meaningful dialogue or a social interaction and so on. He says, where possible, fine. Vyahritam chet satyam. So that's a rule 2. Rule 3 says, priyam vadet vyahritam tat tritiyam. So even when you speak truth, I think you should talk priyam. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyam. That's what it is. So the third rule he says is priyam. Then he says, dharmyam vadet vyahritam tat chaturtam. So he has now narrowed the set. You see what he is saying. He is saying, you talk. When he has to talk. Don't have to talk, fine. If you have to talk, he says, talk satyam. From that set, you get a subset called priyam. From that subset, you get another subset called dharmyam. So you speak that which is not dharma viruddha, which is priya, and which is satya. This is what he says. If you are not able to talk in this combination, avyahritat, vyahritat, avyahritam shreya. That's what he actually says. And some of the Niti Shastras have a lot of such things which we can reflect on. Because a lot of problems will come only here, if you see. We mix up this in many ways. Get into complex sort of arguments and so on and so forth. Anyway, here he says, Priyam Vadaha, Viryavan. He is an embodiment of virya, vitality. He is an embodiment of vitality. But what happens? Na viryena mahata swena viryena na vismitaha. He doesn't have the garva of that. If it gets into the head, finished, half the character is destroyed. So viryavan parantu na mahata viryena swena mahata viryena na vismitaha. He is not one who is haughty, this does not get into his head. That is the property which is talked about of Rama there. Nacha nritakato vidwan vriddhanam pratipujakaha anurakta prajabhischa prajaschapya anuranjate. He says, Nacha anrita kataha. It's straight. If you split it, it becomes straight. Na cha anrita kataha. He will never tell lie. He will never say anrita. He doesn't want to unnecessary bluff. He doesn't want to. Nacha anrita kataha. That's the first thing. Nacha anrita kataha. Vidwan. He is a very knower of not just the Paravidya but also Aparavidya also. He is a true Vidwan. Vriddhanam pratipujakaha. He has so much of respect for elderly people. See, what happens is some of the people, when they are very learned, somewhere this disrespect starts coming. The jnana vriddaha vayo vriddhanam tiraskuruvanti. That should not happen. Sometimes it happens. That's why it says, no, it's not like that. He is vidwan, but vriddhanam pratipujakaha. Okay? Anuraktaha prajabhischa. He loves prajas. Prajabihi anuraktaha. So it is a Tritiya Bhakti. He is loved by the prajas. So the first quarter says he is loved by his subjects. The second says prajaschyapi anuranjate, saha anuranjate. He loves the prajas. That's a kartari, this is karmani. Active voice and passive voice. Both are there here. Both are there actually. Anyway. Anuraktaha prajabhischa, prajabihi anuraktaha yaha saha Ramaha. One who is loved by the prajas, he is Rama. That is the first part. Second part says, Prajascha api anuranjate. Aham praja anuranjate. I like the prajas. So that's how it is written here. Basically, it is he likes the subjects also like him. Sanukrosho jita krodaha brahmana pradipujakaha deenanukampi dharmajnaha nityam pragrahavan shuchi. Pragrahavan shuchi in sandhi. Makara, sakara becomes shakara. All those are sandhi. We all gets that conversion actually. If you do a sandhi vicheda, then it becomes pragrahavan shuchi. That's all. That becomes pragrahavam is sha. All that happens there. Anyway, that's why it looks like that. Sanukroshaha. Saha anukroshaha. See, by nature he is very kind-hearted. He is anukroshaha. He is kind-hearted. Jitakrodaha. He has overcome anger. See, that's why the first shloka in Balakanda, when Narada asked, he said Jitakrodaha. But also he said Jata Bibyasya Roshati. Bibyati. Jata Roshasya Bibyati. But if he generally has overcome anger. But if he gets anger, everybody will fear. I think it is very important. Every one of us have both. Must have both. Jitakroda is your ability to put anger under your control. But when you want it, you have to take it out of your packet. It should be our ability to, rather than being controlled by it. For us, the problem is the other way. That we have become slave to it. Whereas here, by saying both, it is not in contradiction. It is only saying the anger is under my control. It is in my packet. When I want it, I will take it out. So, Jitakrodaha. Brahmana Pradipujakaha. He has a lot of respect for Brahmanas. That is another attribute of his which is being mentioned here. Deenanukampi. Deenanam anukampi. Being compassionate to have-nots. These are all leadership qualities. There are a lot of leadership qualities that, if people are not compassionate to their subordinates, they will never be great leaders. I will tell you. 100% I will tell you. Leadership is not arrogance and shouting and putting fear. They are very bad leadership. You should be very compassionate. Compassion is an important requirement of leadership. Nobody will become a great leader if you don't have compassion. You should know, like Jitakroda and Jata Roshasya Bibyati, you should know when to use what, but you should have these attributes. It's a very important attribute. Deenanukampi, compassionate to have-nots. Okay, only then welfare is possible by a leader. Leaders cannot do welfare if they don't have compassion in their heart. At the end of the day, leader is supposed to do welfare, no? Why are you a leader? You have to do larger good for the larger. That is the basic role of a leader. The title are all later. They are all Vyavaharika ideas. Philosophically, what? A leader must be able to get the greatest good and greatest welfare to the greatest group which he is responsible for. If that has to happen, compassion is required. So, Deenanukampi, Dharmajnaha, knower of Dharma, all this thing. Nityam Pragrahavan. He is ever controlled. Pragraham. Ever controlled. All the time you should be able to control. If you lose your control, we lose our character quite often. Shuchihi. That's why he is clean. Clean is mind, thought, action. It's all clean. That's why Pragrahavan Shuchihi. Kulo chitamati kshatram dharmam swambahu manyate paraya kirtya mahat swarga palam tataha. Kulo chitamatihi. He feels so great about his lineage. It's very, very important. We must feel so great about our lineage. This is a family trait that we have to develop. Kulo chitamatihi. Because that gives that strength and that confidence to do many things as who we are. That gives us, that's one pillar we have to hold. We have a pedigree on which we should have, if we don't have a great credibility and respect for our own pedigree, who is going to have? Where is that use of it? Kulochitamatihi is what it says. He is he has a reverence for his own dynasty, his praise. Kulochitamatihi. Kshatram dharmam swambahu manyate. He feels that as a kshatriya, kshatram dharmam is swadharma, basically. The importance of swadharma. So kshatram dharmam swam kshatram dharmam bahumanyate. He feels strongly about honoring the code of being a kshatriya. That he feels. That is why, when there is a need to clean up things, he cleaned up things throughout Ramayana. You will find it. Compassion and all is there. But then Kshatriya Dharma, when it is, that's why, you have what is called Samanya Dharma. You have Visesha Dharma. Kshatriya Dharma is a Visesha Dharma. It's not a Samanya Dharma. It's a Visesha Dharma. See, when you are in operation theatre, it's all violence. Take the knife and tear it left, right, center. First make him unconscious and tear left, right, center and stitch them like a gunny sack. There it is a Visesha Dharma. There is no Samanya Dharma. Don't talk, violence, pain and all. Don't talk. So like that, people in the military, they are supposed to, in Bhagavad Gita, that's what he said, no? Krishna. There is every one of us have a Visesha Dharma, and that Dharma we have to do. And in that, there is no sin when you do it as per that Dharma. So, Kshatra Dharma is, being Kshatriya has to be Kshatra Dharma. And Krishna was saying that to Arjuna again and again. You have to, Kutastvam Kasmalamidam, second shloka in the second chapter. Tvayi na upapadyate. Kshudram hride daurbalyam tyaktva uttishta parantapa. Hride daurbalyam and klaibyam masma gamapartha. That's how he starts. You are behaving like a eunuch. Klaibya. Klaibyam masma gamapartha. Don't get into this state. Etat tvayi na upapadyate. What he say? Anaryam aswargiyam. One more. 3 he says. It neither gives you fame, neither nor gives you heaven. It not makes you an Arya, a cultured person. All these 3 will not, because you are violating your dharma. That's what you are saying. So that's what he says. Manyate paraya kirtiya, mahat paraya kirtiya, swarga palam tatah. He says, by following your dharma, you must know your dharma. By greatly following the dharma, you will get a swargapala. He firmly believed in it. Swadharma must go with Swabhava. Then it is a winning combination. Swadharma and Swabhava must align. That's why the Varna is very, very important. Our Swabhava and Swadharma must align. Then it is a sure shot that the individual will only evolve. Notwithstanding what you do. Today we have given so much emphasis to what we do and start making colors in that and say therefore he is big and he is small. All that are untrained mind and it's an uncultured understanding of a societal concept actually. It got it in its own way, it got into a little bit all that. So that's what he says. Paraya kirtya, mahat paraya kirtya, swargalapam tatah. From this feeling that our own dharma and all that is very important, through that you will get fame and reach Swarga. He feels strongly in it. That's the description of Rama here. Na shreyasi rato vidwan na viruddha kata ruchihi uttaro tara yuktaucha bhakta vachaspatiryata na ashreyasi rataha na ashreyasi rataha na ashreyasi rataha. That which does not give shreyas is ashreyas. Tasya saptama vibhakti, in that. Na rataha, he doesn't want to get wasted. His interest is not in things which does not give shreyas. Whereas sometimes we do a lot of wrong things which doesn't give us any shreyas. We just get into it. The clarity of thought sometimes we miss. Na ashreyasi rataha. He says, he means no interest in pursuits that did not contribute to one's welfare. Okay? Then, Vidwan, that we have seen that. Na viruddha kata Vidwan na viruddha kata ruchihi. So, viruddha kata ruchihi nasti. Again, inappropriate. What is a viruddha kata? Inappropriate things, adharmic things, things which are very, very inappropriate, not required, of no use. His ruchi is not there. He will not waste his time on all those things. Na viruddha ruta kata ruchihi. Uttarottara yuktaucha, in a debate. Uttarottara. Give more and more reply, which is a debate. Uttarottara Tocha Vakta Vachaspatihi Yata. He is like Brihaspati, who is the Lord of the speech. The Lord of the speech. He was like the Lord of the speech when it comes to debates and, making the point and so on and so forth. Like Adi Shankaracharya, for example, he was a Uttarottara Vachaspati. That's what he did when he had his, went around and so on. Sarvajna Pitasya Avataranam, finally, Arohanam, all that. Was winning debates and setting Sanatana Dharma back in its place, which was required at that point in time. So, like that. Arogastaruno Vagmi Vapushman Desha Kalavit Loke Purusha Sarajnah Sadhureko Vinirmitah. Aroga. He doesn't have disease, healthy body. Aroga. See, because lot of the disease that we get has two parts. One is because of prarabdha. This is my own little understanding. The disease that we get has two components. One component is because of the prarabdha. He actually carried a certain bag with which we manufactured a body, so that body will throw certain diseases. So we should not worry about that. Anything which is prarabdha purvaka, we have to develop the titiksha to endure it and go. And in a way it is avoidable, so you have to only manage. You have to understand that comes because of a certain composition of the body and a certain side of thing is all because of, so one kind of arogata will come through that. But the major arogata will come because of manovyadi. The samadhana, titiksha, uparati, when we don't have shamadama, when we don't have all that, when all these things start cooking us, then that's why it's mental, all these diabetic, hypertension, all because of mind. Psychosomatic, all these mind-related things, that may be avoidable. So aroga means actually that we can avoid all ways of getting into a trap called disease, which we seem to be getting. Anyway, aroga, tarunaha, young, vagmi, well-versed, because how he speaks and all is already there. Mridubhashi, Purvabhashi, Madhurabhashi, so he is vagmi, vidwan. Vapushman, healthy body. Vapushman, Desha Kalavit. This is again very, very important. See, when we do a vyavahara, whether we talk or whether we do a vyavahara, Desha Kalavit we should be. Certain things should not be told at certain times. Certain things should not be told in certain places. Certain things cannot be done. Let it be a karya, let it be a, an action or speech. It's very important that a great leader must have these qualities. He should be Desha Kalavit. That only will bring that credibility of a leader, that appropriateness of conducting things. So Desha Kalavit. Because many things that we do may be Adesha or Akala. We may be saying it in a wrong place. We may be saying in a very inappropriate way at a wrong time, at a wrong place. Unwittingly, we have to still, improve our abilities. So here is a character which is shown as an embodiment of that. Desha Kalavit. Loke Purusha Sarajnah. In this world, Loka, in this world of Vyavahara, Purusha Sarajnah, he knows how people do things. How people do things, I am able to. Some of these are leadership qualities, which makes him eminently qualified to be a king also. That's why some of these are being also stated here, right? Anyway, I've written it as ascertaining the potentiality of men. Basically, how people will do in various things, he has been able to develop that sense of understanding of that. That is Loke Purusha Sarajna. Then Valmiki says, Ekaha Sadhuhu Vinirmita. It looks as though one sage has been manufactured. Vinirmita, constructed or manufactured. Sadhurekaha Vinirmita. As though Nirmanam Abhavat. Something has been made. As though a sadhu has been really made. There are some more about Rama himself. I think it is 6 o'clock. We will have to stop here. There is some more shlokas about Rama. It goes up to 30th shlokas. I have taken some of them. We will continue next time when we meet. We will tell the the mantra and stop. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha ko brahmanebhyo shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah aputra putrinas santu pautrinas adhana satana santu jivantu sharadam shatam shrinvan ramayanam bhaktya yappadam padamevava sayati brahmanastanam brahmana pujyate sada. Okay.